We will begin today with introductions. I am Joy McMurray, and I am TMAC Chair. And let's go to my list.
Sure. Kaehan Shour with Provo City Engineering.
I'm Lieutenant John Orgill. I'm with the Police Department.
I'm Noah Gordon, member of TMAC.
David Keller, newly appointed to TMAC. Vern Keeslar, Provo City Engineering.
Lisa Jensen, Planning Commission member on TMAC.
Teresa McKay, City Council.
Beth Province, member of TMAC.
I'm Greg McFarland on TMAC.
George Handley, City Council.
Andy Brascio, Development Services.
Bowden Golding, Development Services.
Sergeant Stephen Brock, Provo Police Department.
Gordon Haight, Provo Public Works.
Judy Johnson, Public Works. Aaron Burr, Provo Resident.
And we got Mary over here too.
Yeah. Mary Barnes, right? Excellent. Feel free to. And then, Joseph Andy is also here, getting more water.
Thank you, Joseph. Excellent. And would you please tell us, Mr. Keller, your name one more time? What was this name?
David Keller.
David Keller. Welcome. We're so glad to have you join us.
Here.
Are you from a certain district?
District 5.
District 5. Okay.
Joaquin neighborhood.
Okay, wonderful. We are so glad you are here. We have a couple of, so the last few months we didn't have a quorum, unfortunately, so it's so good to have excellent turnout today. And so we have two sets of minutes to approve because we couldn't approve them last month because we couldn't take a vote. There weren't enough of us. So first action item is approving our minutes from June. Would you like to
approve minutes for the June 27th.
we have a second?
I second that.
Right, all in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Okay, same for the August minutes. I motion we approve.
I'll second it. I was there.
All in favor?
Aye.
All done. Thank you. Okay, the last couple of months we've been working on bylaws for TMAC because we didn't have any. And so Vern helped draft the bylaws for us, which we really appreciate. We had a good discussion on it last month, and then he made changes, and now we have the new version ready today. The changes from last month he kindly put in red for us. That was so helpful. I'm hoping we can have a vote today to adopt these bylaws, but is there any additional amendments or conversation we'd like to have on this before we adopt them? I suggested a couple of typos to Vern. He's already put in. While you're pondering, I have one I would like to start with. Section 2.3. I just wanted to double check now that we have more TMAC members with us, that everyone feels good about this. We discussed how, especially as we're sitting there on our second month of not having a quorum, it's important that if people are appointed to TMAC that they come so that we can do the work we've been tasked to do. We added, there's this clause that says, the second paragraph, failure to attend 3 regular meetings throughout the year without notification to the chair or staff to be construed by the chair's grounds for resignation from the TMAC. So basically all that says is if you're not going to be here, please do us the courtesy of letting us know why you're not here. And as long as you let us know, then great. When I was first appointed, we had Dr. Saito was on the committee and he was going through cancer treatment. And we didn't see him for 6 months. It's okay, we knew it was fine. So that's not a threat. We're not kind of beating anybody with a stick. Just a little bit of accountability is the goal. Is anyone, you guys okay? Beth and Grace, you weren't here. Oh, yeah. Okay, okay.
Joy,
Yes, Vern.
Lisa, I'm going to remove the word the. Lisa caught that
Oh,
on the
thank you.
notification.
Okay.
So without notification. So we'll
Okay,
correct
Thank
that
you.
typo as well.
okay. Any others before I give one more? I'll jump in. So the other one I wanted to double check is 3.1. We had a lot of discussion on when I wanted there to be an end to the date that the chair serves for, not just for my own benefit, but so we don't have any TMAC dictatorships going on. And there was nothing regarding when elections take place or how long the chair serves for. So we put that in, and I want to make sure that this is okay with everyone. One of our key questions was, when should we have our elections? And we chose May because there's a lot of TMAC turnover in July. A lot of terms end in June, new terms start in July. So it seems like whereas with the city council, terms start in January, so they have their elections then, we thought it would make more sense for TMAC to maybe go with the summer or late spring turnover of leadership. But I am by no means attached to that if there are other opinions on that. Okay. You've had your chance. Also, I wanted
we know we're leaving office, we can just say, I'm sorry, I'm leaving office in a month, I can't.
I can't, you may, the only disadvantage I can see is that if people are brand new to TMAC and their appointment starts in July, they'll have to wait a while before they're eligible for leadership. But maybe that's
Don't want that right when we.
yeah, but they're also brand new, so maybe they're not used to it. So that's my only concern. The other question I had is, it says that the last sentence, a chair or vice chair can be reelected but cannot serve for more than 2 consecutive years as chair or vice chair. I wanted to make sure that the language doesn't preclude a vice chair from then serving as chair. Maybe they served as vice chair for 2 years, but then could they then go be chair? Is there any problem in the language with that?
I think the language does not prohibit that.
Excellent, because that might be something that happens. I think those are all of my comments. Last chance, anyone else?
We did put in the electronic communication,
Yes, thank
so
you.
that's been added, moved up to 21st century.
Because we do have, yeah, thank you for that. We do often have people attend over Zoom. And I appreciate those who've made efforts even when they're out of town to try to attend that way. One more item, I guess I had one more, sorry. 5.8 on length of meetings. 2 questions. First is the red part you'll see says, the vote must be unanimous to continue hearing the remainder of the items. So if we run out of time, we finish the one we're on, but if we feel like we want to continue, if there's other urgent things, it has to be a unanimous vote. Do we feel good about unanimous, or do we want majority there?
I thought about that again when I was looking at it the other day, and I think that unanimous means you're not stuck in a meeting that you can't, so I think it's probably good that we decide on that.
And then the next sentence, all items remaining to be heard will be forwarded to the next agenda for consideration if continued. Does that mean if?
So that language, that legally means that it's continued. You don't, it's not meaning that you continued the meeting, it's meaning that the remaining items are put on the
Agenda.
So maybe we should change that word to say move forward with the agenda.
Okay, I think that was a little, like, which continue are we talking?
Continue.
Or just
Right.
continue?
But this word means continued, like put on the next meeting agenda,
Right.
and
It
then
makes sense to me that all items remaining to be heard will be forwarded if we presumably, if we voted to extend the meeting, then presumably we're going to continue with the agenda, right?
Yes,
Another quick question, if we know that like a particular long subject, today we're actually gonna end at 2.
We kind of prefer to stick with uncommon. I have that weekly meeting. So I think it is appropriate to try to stick within a time frame for the citizens.
So it's more, make sure the agenda is clear if you're just gonna.
yes, thank you.
One other word that could be the vote to extend the meeting to continue for the remainder of the items, rather than extend the meeting rather than continue.
Agenda.
yeah, and so if they continue hearing the remainder of the items, just say,
I know this might seem
Unanimous
tedious
to
to
accept.
some, but I think details of bylaws actually can have an impact, and I want to make sure we get it right. We are the. No.
and that's really isn't continued in the.
Read this sentence, starting with time unless there is a motion by extend the meeting.
Does that
Solve
mean,
everybody's
that takes us that you said TMAC and it only says, it'd be weird, but if you actually say it out.
Suggestions on our bylaws.
So when
the duration of that could just keep on going. Item at 1:30. Doubtful, I think everyone wants to just basically leave, but.
You want to add and promptly finish that item? I think you're right. No,
I don't think anyone's gonna filibuster and then just continue that, but, you know, the way it's written right now, I mean, you could just keep on.
Well, now that you brought it up,
If you would like us to add, TMAC will promptly finish the item, we could do that.
Another way of saying that is no new items will be started.
You want to insert the word
Here's what you elect
promptly?
to share, people, that's all. In other words, be thoughtful of Vern and be done.
You know, if you really wanna get
How about
people
if
to
we
vote on it.
insert promptly,
I
and
will.
then there's some accountability
What does that mean?
as constituted with the changes that we've agreed upon today. Judy? Thank you, bravo, everyone. Now on to more exciting things.
Of high-profile construction updates. I don't know if we have those photos available.
We just need to, I don't know what order they are, so maybe I'll give you that.
This is up on Oakmont and Oak Cliff. We are constructing a wall. We over-designed this wall for the safety of our children. We'll be putting a crosswalk right there and then coming down kids. So that's where we're at with this one. You can go through, you should be able to scroll through the next one.
Can I give a quick?
Oh, that's a different
on
picture.
that one?
Yeah.
I went and walked that myself this week in preparation and looked at it. And so even if a car was going crazy, the kids are going to be protected. It's just been beautifully designed. Thank you very much for that.
Is there now a sidewalk of some kind on Oak Cliff?
So on the other side, there's a 6-foot sidewalk on the other side. South, 300 South should open here fairly quickly today. We'll run 300 South from Freedom over to Fifth, and then next week, 500 West starts that intersection construction. We'll do the east half first, and then this is kind of a good, interesting story. One of the contractors that was out there, why can't we just asphalt that all across? Well, I was out a few, and this is going to be where bikes can go through, and they can push a button. It's the first 3 that we've done have been asphalt. And it's too small and too maintenance folks, and then concrete in the end because we'll never have to worry about maintenance on that in between the 2 rates. West or 300 West, so this would be 300 West because of the residential units in the back.
I'm a big fan of those cross.
More on 300 South. Currently, we're the only city in Region 3 has been very open-minded to allow us to do these. So showed the 2 assistant directors of UDOT a few months ago when they were down here looking at the next photo. Just jump through these. There's more of 300 South at Freedom Boulevard. The bags are off the lights as of this morning. Next photo, please. This is something we're doing. We're experimenting with some delineator to become better drivers in my mind. People were using this lane as a right turn lane, a turn lane on Cougar Boulevard here, and then turn right. It's not a right turn lane. It's reserved for bicyclists and then of course the turn. We got a little bit more work to do and probably 2 or 3 more delineators to install at the intersection. We got to get. I don't know if anybody has seen that.
I just ride through that every day. It's great.
They actually pointed it out on the
Section might be a candidate for, disallowing right turns on red.
We're going to look at that. A lot of the movement is through as we get closer. Right now, a couple pictures of that as well.
So burn these delineators.
But I will tell you, they were. So next slide.
on the corner.
Not in the bike lane, but that was before BYU extended their bike lane. Okay, this is they still got some striping to do. One is the steel is on, so we're basically done. Yeah, okay. Next slide, please.
Really like
There used to be hedges all along here. We had to do a change order. Most things are pretty sacred with their landscaping. They gave us approval to pull them out. Did the full 6-foot sidewalk, and there wasn't one here beforehand. This is up on Delineators. The snowplows only took 2 of these. That's when people had to make a left onto Jordan Avenue here. And then people doing that would put in these delineators and would put in a new sign. And
Coordinate I don't know if he was watching for speeders coming up the hill, but I think it worked in places for the police to sit and let, and that seems to be a good one.
Delineators here solves the same problem, okay? So this is on 500 West over at Tempanoga, and so what we decided to do is go ahead and put in delineators here. It's illegal to park within 20 feet of a crosswalk.
Which school was this from?
I'm sorry, Joy?
Which elementary was it?
Tempanogas, right
So
there on
this is
Fifth
more
North
like,
and Fifth West.
this is more like 600 West, right here?
Yeah, this is right at 600 West and 500 North.
And this, we have a item on the agenda about delineator treatment. They do great at things like this, where you have people who are parking illegally across a crosswalk. But it also, it's not a cure for everything, right?
But I'm not sure what does protect people from distracted drivers, right?
A concrete wall like what you put at Wasatch.
Bubble wrap.
Well, the concrete wall like we did at Wasatch.
They're still gonna hit something before they hit a kid.
And also shorter distance for the crossing guard and the lane now.
Any narrowing will automatically mentally keep people, slow down, slow down. That's-
Yeah, no, I think this is, I can ride over one of these with a bicycle and not really slow down. And so, yeah, there may be treatments where a curb is still wanted.
And then in the concrete curb, I have a street where I have a street with delineators, but it does have effect on parking in front of
Where we need other treatments as well.
I have a quick question on the opposite theaters along that, because you can see the white truck is there and their house is along there. I think they park pretty close to the sidewalks.
I can't remember.
20 feet away from the
I don't, just so you know.
It looks like there's no parking.
I can't, so.
I think it's the next one. That's just a closer one. Done as of yesterday, if I remember correctly. I haven't been back up there today.
$185,000 for that segment. So it just gives you the price of.
We could put this in,
This
It
was
would-
not,
That was part of your budget last year, so.
Such a risk on that street.
Went through the fence.
Beach field, but still.
Yeah.
Anyway, if I had a neighbor at the cliff, now people are gonna their way down.
Pay for as far as when they build a school? Are they just doing the sidewalks around it? Or are they responsible for any of the?
So the policy is they will put the sidewalks as gifting that to the city above and beyond what they're actually required to do. But when we met with them, we were trying to encourage them to help fund this. And, there was no ability to encourage that. So, we knew it had to be built, so that's why we came to the council to fund that for school.
But not the barrier itself.
No.
Yeah.
And that needed to be, we designed that in-house, by the way. And we had the right length and the right width of this wall. Again, I think we've over-designed this, but for good reason.
Is that staggered somehow?
Yep.
This photo,
Of a barrier. So there's some design features in here to help.
If so, a car driving in the direction of this picture, if they're texting, won't hit the ramp and
Walk is going to go, where the children come through, and where cars will go is significantly removed from where the children will go. It's just been really thoughtfully designed.
The cars really couldn't get to them. This road, when the snow gets on there, we plow it pretty early, but it's still.
In theory, the barrier is used at some point. Are repair costs going to be significant to the city as well?
I suspect,
You know, you'd have to be a really big truck to hurt it. We still have to put some reflective tape. We're gonna put a sign so don't hit directions. I don't know what they'll be.
well, I live at the bottom of what's called the Wild Mouse, and there's a barrier there, dollars of damage to our car and zero to that wall.
If you hit this, it's really gonna damage your car severely. So, that, the barrier should be.
so you'll see that's intentionally pulled in. Attenuators, which deflect and save people's lives that are driving distracted and hit those, they're about election occurs on the outside. And then finally, I think this is Danielle, and you've already seen her, Danielle, cooperation with our consultant, and we're just really appreciative that the council gave.
Right, thank you, Vern. Any other? Okay. Thank you so much for that. And that was also item 6, that was delineators as well.
That I was excited about, that things that we've talked about, or that maybe will give us new ideas of looking at things.
I think you can have a full 15, 17 minutes.
Okay, full 17.
Yeah.
I will try not to take it all, but here we go. Okay, the first one, Vern, you were also at, but they talked about Salt Lake City's main, so they were actually going to close them fully for pedestrians, or if they've just made them more of a pedestrian and bike-friendly environment.
I think that's the overall goal for 20 years into the future, is to eventually have it closed.
So each block has a theme, and they've sort of decorated and pushed towards that. So one would be more like for street performers, another one would, but each of them has improved bike lanes and pedestrian lanes where they've thought about separating them, because we've talked a lot about doing that sort of thing on Center Street. The thing that I liked there was that they've shut down sections of Main Street periodically to try it out. And I felt like that might be the next step for Provo, where we've talked about this and gotten pushback from people to see if it had great success with it. So why can't we try it and have great success with it, was kind of my takeaway. The next one I went to was St. George got a grant, and they were working to improve their trail system. So the things I learned from that were that they worked with the surrounding communities. So those bike trails and pedestrian, the mixed-use trails that they have down around St. George are used by hundreds of people every day. And there's a lot of interactive points, and the pedestrians and bikers don't know if they're leaving St. George and going into Leeds or Washington or wherever. Same signage, the same rules, the same markings along their sections of the path, so that it was continuous. And the thing I liked about it was that they are really focusing on educating the public on the rules of the road. They're assuming that most of the people who are causing the problems don't know about speed limits, don't know about hand signals to tell people you're turning, don't know about warning people that you're approaching on their left. And so they have made really distinctive signage that teaches people everything that they should need to know to be on a mixed-use trail. And I've ridden on those before, and there are points, especially like the ones where you make a sharp turn, where the visibility is low or the trail narrows a little bit, where you encounter pedestrians more, and it's a little bit tricky. So, excuse me. They also said that they focus on education. So if they stop somebody who's violating, they point them to the rules instead of giving them a ticket, which seems like a much more exciting. Springville City popped up there and said that they have started enforcing trail violations with a bounty system. I think it was Springville, where if you report somebody, then the ticket money goes to you, and that's so I'm going to give you a caveat here that I don't remember exactly who it was or what it was, but it was that kind of crazy. It was like they're encouraging enforcement by having people rat on each other on the trail, which, as we've learned with certain communities that have parking problems, is not a super friendly environment, but it also was innovative. So think outside the box was what I learned from that. I love the signage. One other thing I learned is that there's a level of service calculator that you can use to help you evaluate your trail demand and use compared to how wide the trail needs to be. And so if there's sections of, for example, the Provo Parkway that hardly gets used at all, then you can have it be narrower, and the ones that have, the more conflict points are the ones you need to be wider. And I'm sure you guys all know that, but it was good to understand that that was a tool. Okay. Skipping that part. One thing I really got from one of the keynote speakers, he said, if you have a park plan, you should never be considering a plan to build a new park if you don't have a plan for how to get bikes and pedestrians there. And I'm sure that somebody is thinking about that somewhere, but I know that in the conversations we've had about that, both here and on the Planning Commission level, we've never actually talked about that. Is there a safe bike or pedestrian access for these parks? So that's just something for us to be aware of, and I think it applies to malls and transit stops and anything where we're actually trying to serve that mixed-use population, that we need to make sure that's part of the dialogue. If we want people to come to Fat Cats, then maybe we need to, even though there won't be one anymore, if we want people to come to Fat Cats, we need to make sure that we're giving them a safe way to walk through the parking lot from where they had to park their car to where they enter the building. And as a Planning Commission, we're starting to talk about things like that, because they're reviewing the zoning ordinance and talking about what restrictions we want to have. And that's one of the things we are thinking about. If we're going to have these parking requirements that require you to have big parking lots for whatever use, then we need to make sure that part of the discussion is the crosswalks to get people safely to places they're going. So I like that. And then he said the best tool you have to make your community more walkable is your zoning ordinance, which is pretty much the same thing. Another keynote speaker said, don't let the perfect get in the way of the good. So don't sit around till you have the grant money and the ability to build a giant concrete barrier when you could use your delineators to try something out. And so he was saying temporary marking and delineators is a pilot to policy. So have a pilot program where you try something out, like what they did on Tempe with their trying to make bikes safer. It didn't work so well, but it was exactly what works, right? Like that's how you try things out, is by putting, or what they did at the rec center to get that crosswalk across there. They had proposed that before somebody was hit by a car, and it unfortunately didn't get acted on, but because the pilots to policy had essentially been already done, the city knew exactly what to do and when that happened. The last one I wanted to share was, it was called Sweet Streets. And the guy who presented it was, sweet means it's a good experience. So not that we're handing out candy on the streets, but that you have a good experience using the street. And he said proactively planning streets, the principle to this is proactively planning your streets instead of reacting to crashes after they occur. So a good example of that is what's been done with the Wasatch sidewalk that we just talked about, with the barriers to protect, that we're not waiting for somebody to slip into that barrier and go crashing down the hill, or waiting for someone to get hit. We recognize that it's a problem, and we're trying to proactively plan that. So I love that. So it's the traditional approach versus the safe systems approach looks like preventing crashes versus preventing death and serious injuries. So we're not trying to prevent all crashes from happening. People can still slide into the barrier, but we're trying to prevent serious injuries and death. We can't improve human behavior because it's flawed, but we can design for human mistakes. So we can anticipate problems that will occur because somebody's distracted and try and make it better. We can't control speeding because people will speed anyway, but we can create systems that reduce the kinetic energy that, so curves or speed bumps, or those are things that I would think would go in that. The traditional approach says that individuals are responsible, and the safe systems approach is that we share that responsibility. So it's not just the drivers, like I was talking about with Catrice a minute before the meeting started, that it's not just about the bikers, or not just about cars respecting bikers, but it's about bikers expecting that cars aren't respecting them, and they also have to be careful drivers in a system that we've created for them but is not perfect. So like that shared numbers. So review safety is proactive, redundancy is crucial, death and serious injuries are unacceptable, humans make mistakes, humans are vulnerable, and responsibility is shared. But then they gave some standards of like speed limits and what sorts of interactions with pedestrians and bikes you could expect. And it said if the speed limit is more than 15 miles per hour, pedestrian interaction should not take place. And he actually used Provo Center Street in his slide presentation on this as a good example of how the speed limit is 15, and because of that, pedestrians can cross mid-block. 20 miles per hour, they should only cross at the corners. So is unreachable in a city where it's 25 miles per hour in every neighborhood, but it's something to think about, right? 30 miles per hour or more, no bike or pedestrian should be unprotected by barriers or signals. So it's not saying that if your road is 30 miles per hour, nobody should be crossing there or using it as a bike. 40 miles per hour should have a physical center barrier, was the standard. So whether you agree with those or not is irrelevant, but it sounds like Lehigh City has been working with this control street like Provo does, and they have, they call it putting it on a traffic diet. Is that the right terminology? Road diet, where they got, like what we talked about at one point, getting rid of one lane on Center Street in each direction so that there's only one traffic lane. And then it's given them opportunities to have protected bike lanes and pedestrian ways and parking that is not as, I think he also showed the back-end parking on First West by the train station. It is a good example in many ways in these, which was kind of fun. And those were just some ideas. So hopefully that got your creative juices flowing. Those are some of the things that I loved. I also went to one of the classes I attended, the one about the St. George trails. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned this. UDOT has been tasked with having a statewide interconnected trail network. And I don't know if you guys all knew that, but that will affect pedestrians and bikers. And did I understand that correctly, that it literally is statewide interconnected?
Yeah.
Is the ultimate goal, obviously
There's
not.
also funding for it.
Yeah, and so that's something cool that you could ride your bike from Idaho to Arizona if you wanted to, but.
Maybe we can connect Springville and Provo someday.
Yeah, iron can place, and then you can get over there and go around the backside, come on!
So George and I spent last weekend riding our bikes through US 89 in the middle of the night. And that was fun. But it'd be nice if there was a connected trail system.
It sure would. So anyway, lots of cool things, lots of great ideas, lots of pats on the back for things that we're doing well. That was my bag, that's all. So, class that talked about how to get the funding that UDOT shows us. And so they talked about writing grants and what to submit for your grants. And I didn't think we all needed to hear that. So I just wanted to let you know that we're going to talk about that.
We're doing about the trail funding and so on. So I'm just thinking, yeah, there's the big Springville, Provo opportunity to happen. We have the Provo River Trail going up to the mouth of the canyon, and there is some connectivity into Orem from there along a sidewalk to get to the dock. And then there's the University Parkway Trail, which connects up into Orem, which I quite like. But beyond that, I'm wondering about like east-west connectivity. I mean, if it's only, is the funding only for city connectivity, or can you say we need a trail? I mean, because we've got the Lakeview Trail, but the north end of that and the east end of it sort of end up in major intersections, and it's not safe. And I'm wondering if there's ever going to be an opportunity to.
I didn't think that was a UDOT thing, though. I felt like UDOT was more of a continuous through from city to city, county to county, maybe the non-city boundaries where nobody cares about it, that they'll fill in
So
those
we
gaps.
would, like crossing 15, for example, that would be us, or would that be?
But it would be good to develop a plan where, you know, presumably we use the rail corridor or Cooney Road or something to connect Springville and Provo there. It'd be nice to have a plan to, when that trail comes in, connect it to other trails inside Provo.
Well, we had, I walked it with, and I'm trying, were you with us?
Yeah.
You were.
So
There is an opportunity.
Vern went and got some MAG funding to
I was
do a
gonna say
study.
Mountain Lands does that.
So we did get funding. We are funded for a trail study from Orem with Springville up through there. So that funding comes available next year.
Yeah, that money becomes available now.
Now?
I'm meeting with Springville in a couple weeks to go over when we want to work with MAG to hire the consultant. MAG will probably procure that funding. I think we got 150, if I remember correctly. Springville, well, let's just say that we made the application. It was kind of joint, but we did all the work. Same thing with the Orem one as well. So we're meeting when those studies should start.
So Logan Millsap remains very supportive. I don't know what the rest of the people.
So is your vision that that would be a State Street corridor similar to University Avenues?
This was not going to be on.
This is would not be on State Street.
Okay.
We have that now, and
Okay.
no one likes going
where
up over Arlington Hill.
The UR building that's right there off of State Street, that's kind of where it comes out. It goes,
You walked it with us, so.
yeah, it's pretty really nice.
There's some really beautiful paths through there. There's some real challenges with the railroad, but there's.
So on the east side of the railroad though, right? Am I
Yes.
like down in
On
the
the-
Ironton area?
Absolutely. Have to be east of the railroad tracks and west of State Street.
Nice. That's currently where Google tries to send you on your bike. But it's certainly,
Challenging.
no, because there's not a whole lot of traffic back there, but it would be nice for it to be marked and more direct so you didn't wonder if you were lost somewhere.
Vern's going to do a study with Springville. Sounds like we're doing it this year, so.
No, it'll be probably springtime when they procure it. put the RFP out. We gotta write the RFP out, probably get out February, what I'm guessing.
So we'll start on that, but I think that's a great reason to get that connectivity done.
I mean, short of that, going over the hill on State Street, you know, bike lane's fine in terms of space, but of course the speed is really high. So the chances of the risk of a distracted driver is much higher. And they never clean that street
You're
at
riding
all.
through, you're gonna get a flat tire if you ride on State Street,
And then
or slip.
the buffered bike lanes are really faded. You can't even see them hardly. I mean,
Yeah, we don't
All
want
that
that.
gravel pit area's got a ton of gravel coming out in the street, so as a biker, you're kind of like, wow, I gotta go around here.
And a buffered bike lane works when it's, 35, 40, and when ceiling speed is 60, like, yeah, it's not fun.
it's too.
Thank you for going to that and for that excellent work.
That's great.
So I just wanted to say, that Mayor Kafusi gave the opening address and the welcoming to that, conference. And, we were the host city, so we were very busy. Our folks put together the bike map and the, walking tour map and also the scooter tour map. And
Which
then
I
we-
went on, it was super fun.
And I think you probably met Cal then, he's our GI. So we had different, people from Provo City representing the city on those 3 tours. And, I was, of course, busy with the conference, but, it went very well. And we heard a lot of compliments about Provo City, and the amount of transportation infrastructure that we have for active transportation.
I love that Provo is leading out on active transportation, it seems like, in the state. Like that's a really good place to be. Thank you. We're good on that. Okay. Kaehan is gonna give us an informational item on BYU home games.
Well, not a whole lot on this. As you guys are aware, it's a BYU home game season.
Flag and
So-
football, yeah.
I guess I want to start off maybe 3 years ago when I joined the city. All 6 of the BYU home games, including the Stadium of Fire, which is a big event. I mean, these are the big events that we have in the city of Provo. They were all held from the Orem City's Traffic Operations Center. They were the leaders on them. They were in charge. And then as I kind of got involved in this, the goal was to shift those meetings and make Provo be the leader and have these meetings be held here, run the events from our Traffic Operations Center here. We have a Traffic Operations Center in this building. So we work with the city of Orem, and after a lot of coordination and meetings, successfully were able to hold the Stadium of Fire and then 3 of the BYU home games from our TUC. And the remaining 3 are kept at the Orem TUC just because we want to maintain that relationship between the 2 cities. This event requires a lot of coordination. So we have Orem City engineers from Orem City involved in this. We have our Provo Police, BYU, UT officers. We have Utah Highway officers. Provo is involved in it. And then we have folks from UDOT that are helping in this event as well. You can imagine there's about 7 or 8 of us that meet on every single game that we have, and we run these events from RTUC. Our goal is to provide the safest and quickest option for our citizens to get into the stadium, and then also are able to leave the stadium the quickest and safest possible. We get about 65,000 plus minus, I don't know, a couple thousand here or there, attendees attending these events. So as you could see, it's a big deal. And to get them into the stadium the quickest possible, safest, and get them out the quickest and safest possible, that's what we try to accomplish. What I did was I requested one of our citizens who attended one of the games to maybe give his feedback on how Gordon, do you want to give us a minute of how was your experience?
It was, I was in the by the student section. They didn't leave for 45 minutes. So by the time we got out, Kaehan and his group had the place cleared out. We saw the UTA buses hauling people in and out, circulating. So from our standpoint, it went well. We won, but we got home at 2 in the morning. So I'm just.
I think that,
I as a biker,
Yeah.
and this is on BYU, I guess.
I can't.
It's ridiculously hard to park a bike
No,
anywhere.
yeah, I biked. A friend gave us tickets to the game, and I biked there, and I had to like tilt. Luckily, someone had tilted their bike like this, so I could tilt it up and fit in. But I gave feedback to BYU. We need more bike racks.
Parking signs, you're locking in at the trees, you know.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
fuck that
which
way.
actually means that it's working, because
That's right.
people are using alternative transportation to get there, but there isn't somewhere to put your bike.
That was exactly my experience.
So that's a great feedback. I mean, that's something that we could certainly
They
share.
help us out, BYU. We've got these in the network.
Yeah, I mean, especially especially those of Provo people who live relatively close, like, it's such a headache to drive.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of people will walk, but I think with a lot of e-bikes getting out and scooters and all the rest, like, if there's more ample space for that kind of parking, it really incentivize that even. Because I would advertise it as the fastest way to get to the game, there and back. Because even with the mass transit stuff, you've got to wait, you know, you're on a bike, you're off to go.
Right?
It's very
Right?
satisfying at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's
And
amazing.
the cars are all stacked.
Yeah, you're like, see ya!
No, I appreciate that. Well,
Now-
We should just put big banners on the back of our bike saying,
Should have
bring your bike.
Here's a bye-bye.
I kind of feel like the Wiz does that, like, it's like, woo! And the bird perimeters expand on game days, right? So you can get even less close to is that correct?
Yeah, the geofence comes out further.
I experienced the geofencing, and your scooter literally crawls to a stop.
Why is that?
BYU doesn't want it on their campus.
They don't want it to clog things up with scooters and bikes left everywhere that they don't have to lock up.
That's, well, they'll have to make,
They just be left
That is-
everywhere.
you've got so many pedestrians, they don't want people going scooters in and out of it. It's only like a block or two. I still wish they would I'm gonna plug this, I don't know why BYU does not allow, the scooters or the bikes on the campus ever.
Well, they don't allow personal scooters on campus.
Yeah.
but
They do allow.
They don't let the
Yeah.
rentals on.
They don't let bird, but they do, the geofence does come out.
You know what? I've experienced UCLA had scooters all over the place, and they were just laying all over the sidewalk. And I'm guessing that BYU doesn't allow it because you don't have to lock up a bird scooter. You can literally ride it to the door of your building and leave it there for someone to trip over. I'm guessing it's a safety thing.
At Georgia Tech,
Human nature.
I was at Georgia Tech last month though, and they have geofenced parking spots inside the campus. Right, so you can ride through the campus, but you can't end your ride except in.
Now, that's a smart idea to have a bird parking lot on the perimeter.
Georgia Tech is full of smart people, but so is BYU. We should figure this out.
That's a really good idea.
So on our bird tour, we went past Wendy's, and then we went down through by the field house. And as soon as we turned off of Canyon Road into the parking lot, everyone's scooter, they told us it had been removed, and so we went through. And we had to walk them all the way.
Well, thank you, Kaehan. Look at that fabulous response you just got. Okay.
And look at us promptly ending our.
And we are gonna be done. We are going to, our October meeting is not at its usual